Good morning. Welcome to Stitching with Cindy Botts. Today I want to talk about two wall hangings that I've made. These are small wall hangings. They're fitting on my table here next to each other. One is vertical and one is horizontal, and I wanted them to complement each other. So I did a couple of things to make them be a set. All right. The first thing I did was chose the vase of the vertical one to be the same color as the basket or the pot for the horizontal one. The next thing I chose to do was to make the frames, the borders, the same color, and that will help make them a set. Also, the background color is the same in both of them. So that's one way to make it a set without them being identical. I chose to use one color for the center of all the flowers on this, and then a different darker shade of the browny yellow tan fabric for the center of all of these. The leaves on these are different from the leaves on this one. So there is some sameness to them. I chose different colors, but there's also some, different color for the petals, but there's the same base for the flowers, the same pattern, the same stencil I used, and that helps give them difference but yet similarity. So that makes a nice set, a nice pair. So let's talk about how I did the actual flowers. So what I did was, let's first talk about where I got inspiration to do this pattern from. So I have had this pattern from the patchwork place for many years. I don't even know if they still carry it, and I liked it, but I never got around to making it. So I decided that I'd use it for inspiration for two small wall hangings. I liked the vertical vase basket here and the horizontal basket there, but I wanted mine to be different than theirs. So that's what I used for my inspiration. Again, that's the patchwork place, and it's flower baskets, and I just never got around to it. But I bought that several years ago. So sometimes we have inspiration right in our sewing rooms that we don't even realize we have. Maybe the project's too big or too little. You can change that by adding borders or taking borders off, resizing things. Now, this was the So Simple Shapes by Lori Holt by Bonnet, Granny's Garden. Now, the Granny's Garden is a really cool quilt. I chose to use some of the templates that were out of it for the petals of my flowers. All right, so again, you can take things that you have used in other projects. Don't just forget about them. You can turn them into some other great projects. All right, so for this project, I needed to use Wonder Under or a Heat and Bond, some kind of adhesive for this applique. So I chose to use Ultra Bond Light. And what I did, because I had so many different colors I was going to be using, is I went ahead and laid my fabrics down on the table, and then I laid my Heat and Bond on the back of them. Then I ironed it following directions, turned it over, cut my squares apart, and on the back traced my design using the Lori Holt templates from the Bee in My Bonnet, Granny's Garden. That way I could cut several at one time, and the edges were nice and clear. And here is one of the shapes with the Heat and Bond on the back. Then you just peel off that Heat and Bond, select your placement on your project, and iron it down following directions. Now for this, It's helpful if you lay your stem down first before you put your blossom on, or just tack the top down with your iron and leave the bottom open so you can slide the stem in and then iron down your stem. Okay, I took a pencil or a heat and bond pen and just traced the line of where my basket was going to be, and then I knew where to start my flowers. Just be mindful of when you're using the heat and bond or the heat erase marker that when you iron down your leaves and things, your line might disappear. But I didn't have that as a problem. I was just mindful of it. Okay, and then again, to tie the two wall hangings together, I did some design stitching here. I thought this big brown pot needed some breakup, so I put a couple lines of decorative stitching in. That is the same color thread that I used for the yellows, and then I did a variation of that on the vase. Now you can use a nice variegated color variety. I used blue and a pink and a yellow for my stitches. You can do a decorative stitch. You can do a blanket stitch, whatever you need to do to tack down those raw edges. When you put your flower down and you iron it down, you're just going to start on one side and go all the way around, stitching it down with your either blanket stitch or zigzag stitch, or I really liked this stitch. It's kind of a blanket type stitch where it goes down in. Okay, I thought that came out really cool. So this is my project to show you today, and I just encourage you to look at some of your projects you haven't gotten around to or you've already done, and see if there's a way to reuse the templates and maybe make it bigger, smaller, and reuse it. Hope you have a great day. Thanks for stopping by. Happy quilting. Bye now.